Stand by for action.
When Poppa stepped forward, he was cut down by his own police department.
Telling the truth destroyed his career. The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it. One man who confronted truth and consequences.
Welcome to Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa, episode 35 for Sunday, January 3rd, 2021. Text message communications between Las Vegas blogger Dana Gentry and Connie Land confirmed that Las Vegas Justice Court Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson received information from then Las Vegas Metro Police Vice Detective Gregory Flores about the Galassi case. Flores was the vice detective at the time who investigated Anthony Galassi, also known as Frost and Frost the Legend, the former pimp of Ariane Zappia. Flores has since been promoted to sergeant according to public records. Please refer to previous episodes of Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa, available on YouTube and Facebook if you are not up to date on what I am discussing here. According to those text messages, Gentry told Land that she had met with Tobiasson on April 17, 2018, and Tobiasson told Gentry that she had received information from then Detective Flores about Ariane Zappia's case against her former pimp, Anthony Galassi. The text messages are as follows. On April 17, 2018, Connie Land texted Dana Gentry, quote, "It is still very concerning and disturbing that Judge Tobiasson would be so up to date on Ariane's case. Oh, and why the judge would be talking to the detective of the case when it was not in her courtroom," unquote. Speaking of Tobiasson, Gentry replied to Land, quote, "I think it was after the fact. She told me she was devastated when she heard about the deal. Flores then told her that Ari backed out and said anyone who wanted to communicate with her, even the DA, had to go through him," unquote. On April 18, 2018, Gentry texted Land that she had met with Tobiasson the previous day, April 17th. Refer to the screenshots to view the text messages. So, once again, we have Tobiasson receiving information about a criminal case from the police because of her position as a sitting judge. Remember from my previous podcast, Tobiasson claimed she had received confidential information from the police concerning the unsolved 2016 murders of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman, information about Shane Valentine, the suspect at the time in the murders, and others. Now, according to those text messages, Gentry told Connie Land that Tobiasson told her that Tobiasson received information about the Zappia/Galassi case from then Detective Flores. In Connie Land's complaint against Tobiasson to the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline that Land wrote in December of 2018, and which was filed by the Commission on January 3, 2019, Land wrote, quote, "At the time, Ariane had an open case as a victim involving a man named Anthony Galassi. His charges were first-degree kidnapping and human trafficking. Judge Tobiasson was involved with this case as well, stating the police were never going to solve her case. The judge stated she could make one phone call to her, quote, friend, unquote, in the FBI, and could have Anthony Galassi arrested and extradited to Nevada to face charges. He was living in the Bay Area at the time. Ariane and I believe Judge Tobiasson was looking to uncover the police corruption. She involved herself into my daughter's open murder investigation and in the open investigation of Ariane Zappia and Anthony Galassi," unquote. Email communication between Tobiasson and myself in 2018, as you will hear shortly, tends to confirm what Land wrote in her complaint about Tobiasson making a phone call to her FBI friend to get Galassi arrested. Let's go back and revisit what Ariane Zappia told me during my on-the-record recorded interview with her in February of 2019, which was well after Connie Land's filing of her complaint against Tobiasson in December of 2018. I say that again here because Gentry, who was once Deputy Press Secretary for then Nevada Senator Harry Reid and former spokesperson for the Service and Police International Union, now writes for the reader-supported online outlet, the Nevada Current, falsely wrote in one of her articles that Connie Land's complaint to the Judicial Commission was based mostly on stories that I wrote that were published by the Baltimore Post-Examiner at the time. Gentry's assertion, as I said in a previous podcast, is a flat-out lie and had no basis in fact, as Land's complaint was filed prior to my stories being published. That, along with Gentry's assertions that I told her that I had no formal training in journalism, that I posted the stories on the Baltimore Post-Examiner website, and that I told her that I reneged by publishing Tobiasson's on-the-record recorded interview with me, are also false. For more on Gentry's ethics, you can research online how her ethics came into question several years ago. Now, here is an audio excerpt of Ariane Zappia's interview where she references Tobiasson taking credit for getting Anthony Galassi arrested.
I can't remember. It was like October 11th, October 10th. She tells me, if I can get Frost arrested, and she refers to him as Frost, can you trust me? I said, if you have the kind of fucking magical powers to get Frost arrested, then you have my 100% trust, because then you're obviously someone who can do something. When I say the next fucking day, I got a phone call from Greg Flores, who tells me, we found Frost, he's been arrested, we're having him extradited to Vegas. Literally the next fucking day. Now, it's literally a year since I opened my case, and the day before, this mystery woman tells me she can have him arrested with one phone call. One phone call is what she tells me. And I said, if you can make that happen, then I'll trust you. So she does it. And I was like, holy shit, she fucking did it. So I call her, and I let her know, hey, thank you, because he's been arrested. And she said, all it took was one phone call.
And who are we talking about now? Who is this person?
Melanie Tobiasson.
Now, listen to this audio clip of Ariane Zappia talking to me about Tobiasson telling her not to testify against Anthony Galassi.
Melanie, as well, after when I met her that night, she told me there is no point in me testifying because he's going to walk and then he's going to know that I spoke against him and he's going to try and kill me.
Tobiasson, in her written response to the Land complaint, informed the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline, quote, I am aware that Anthony Galassi was criminally charged with conduct in which Ariane Zappia was the alleged victim. I was not officially or unofficially involved in the case at all, and never made the statement that it would not be solved, nor did I ever discourage Ariane from testifying. I did pay attention to its progress because of my concerns as previously set forth with regard to my family's safety. Unquote. With that, I have some problems with what Tobiasson told the commission in her written response. Tobiasson wrote that she was not officially or unofficially involved in the Galassi case. Well, if that's true, then what I have just said and what I'm about to tell you contradicts what Tobiasson told the commission. Also, Tobiasson omitted any mention in her written response that she received information from then Vice Detective Flores about the Galassi case and Ariane Zappia, as Dana Gentry told Connie Land in those text messages in 2018. Tobiasson, as I previously reported in a prior podcast, admitted in her written response to the Judicial Commission that she had received from then Vice Detective Gregory Flores and Homicide Detective Jared Grimmett the confidential details of a statement that was given by Ariane Zappia to Metro Police Homicide Detective Mitchell Dorsch. Apparently, at least in this case, and according to Tobiasson that is, with some detectives at the Las Vegas Metro Police, confidential statements made to detectives by a citizen during the criminal investigation of an unsolved double homicide were released to a non-departmental member who should not have been privy to that confidential information. Judge Tobiasson, that is. So much for protecting the integrity of the investigation and not compromising the case. If indeed Tobiasson did receive all this confidential information from the police as she admitted to, then Tobiasson is just as guilty as the police detectives who gave her that information. You heard Ariane Zappia talk about Tobiasson making one phone call that got Anthony Galassi arrested. That may or may not be true, but this is what Tobiasson told me in a May 13, 2018, 9:09 a.m. email. Quote, P.S. The agent was responsible for Frost getting arrested on his warrant for the trafficking case. Flores blew a gasket, and once again the agent was reprimanded by his second-in-command. I know there are a lot of gaps in the story right now, and you probably have more questions than answers, so please write them down. Doug, I think we need to write the whole story, go public with it, and force the FBI and the DOJ to conduct a formal investigation and freeze records and freeze files and do search warrants on computers and phones because otherwise they will destroy everything, unquote. In my opinion, that indicates Tobiasson was involved and meddled into the Galassi case for reasons yet unknown. Once again, Tobiasson is not telling the truth. Prior to Tobiasson sending me that email, she sent the following email to me at 9:05 a.m., also on May 13, 2018, which further corroborates my contention that Tobiasson, by her own admission, and for whatever reason, was involved in the Galassi/Zappia case. Quote, after the Channel 8 story, Ari Ann reached out to me. I know she's only doing what she's doing because they are making her. The DA and Vice secretly negotiated his case to credit for time served, and Metro ordered him released from the jail, despite the fact he had a fugitive hold from California. When someone at the jail realized it, they contacted Ari Ann, which is how she found out. Just like when they outed me 18 months earlier. I know, but can't prove, that they wanted to kill her. She was cooperative. She testified at preliminary hearing, and she told the district attorney that she wanted no deals on his case because if he got out of prison, he would kill her. Flores went to the DA, Amy Ferreira, who I'm sure was put there to be the fall guy, but who I'm sure was getting marching orders from Mark DiGiacomo, and told her that Ari Ann was no longer willing to cooperate, would not come to court, would not testify, and that they were not to communicate with Ari Ann unless they went through Flores. They then negotiated his case to one count of pandering with credit for time served, and released him from jail. Somebody has got to be able to get the jail records to show who ordered his release, because it was an accident that he was released and that fugitive hold. Someone needs to get the phone records between Flores, DiGiacomo, Ferrara, Ari Ann, because I promise you that documentation will prove what I'm saying. A new law was passed that all emails and text messages on the county server will be automatically deleted after 6 months if somebody doesn't do a records request from the DA's office for the Frost file immediately. All of that stuff will be gone. I have already been made aware that the PDF file for Ari Ann's pimp case has been completely deleted from the computers in their office, and all media requests so far, or public records requests so far for that file have been ignored. Ari Ann's pimp's name is Anthony Galassi, a.k.a. Frost. I don't have time right now to tell you that story and how the case got filed, but it has everything to do with the double homicide. Ari Ann had been on the run from her pimp since October 20th, October 18th of 2016, and had been in Las Vegas. The murders happened. December, she goes to talk to Dosh and gives him this statement about what she knew about the double homicide. 2 days later, she walks out her front door and gets knocked in the head by her pimp, Anthony Galassi, who I'm sure was advised where she was by Flores or somebody on his behalf. He then sent her to the Aria, that would be Frost, where within 10 minutes of being in the lobby of the Aria, she gets arrested for soliciting. However, she told me that when the guy approached her, she knew he was a cop, and she basically said, "Fuck you, I know you're a cop." She gets arrested. They take her upstairs to a room where, lo and behold, guess who's waiting for her to do an interview? Greg Flores and homicide detective Grimmett. How the fuck did they know she was going to be there? Because they set it up. I was talk texting this because I'm late and I'm losing my mind, but I'll finish this story later. This information has to be retrieved, even if we have to write an article in order to make it known. It has to be retrieved because they will destroy it. The DA's office has destroyed the PDF file from their computer. I know you know that this is real and that this is huge, and you're right. The only way to protect all of us, Ari Ann, Connie, the agent, everybody, is to get it out there, if for no other reason than to keep them from destroying the evidence, unquote. In a May 16, 2018 email that Tobiasson sent me at 1:30 a.m., Tobiasson wrote, quote, "There are a few things I would like to put together before we blow the lid off. It is very important to tie the Shane Valentine murders to the negotiation of the Frost case." Now, for my closing commentary for this episode. Before I start, We need to go back and revisit a few short audio excerpts of Melanie Andress-Tobiasson talking to me about the unsolved 2016 Land Kaufman double homicide during my May 7, 2018 on-the-record recorded interview with her. Listen to Tobiasson's own words as she describes that there is a police cover-up, that the police may have destroyed evidence in the Land Kaufman murder investigation, and how the police wanted her and her daughter to be killed, but it ended up with the wrong two people being killed, Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman. Keep in mind that to date, Tobiasson has not publicly produced one bit of evidence to support her claims in reference to the Land Kaufman double homicide investigation.
So has anybody been indicted for this double murder?
No, that's what I just said. They're covering it up. Now they're trying to cover up the homicide, where Shane Valentine is a suspect. Nobody has been arrested in the murders. I told you that. He was a suspect in the murders. They have all the evidence they need to make arrests in the murders. I told you about the detective who was originally on the case, who told me all the evidence they had that showed it was Shane, Domo, and Frankie. Now they're trying to cover up the homicide, where Shane Valentine is a suspect. The problem is they don't know that I know what evidence they have. Chances are they've destroyed it by now, and they know that the fact that they outed me got two people killed. They weren't the two people they were trying to get killed, me and my daughter, but it got two people killed.
Tobiasson wrote that after the Channel 8 story, Ariane Zappia reached out to her. That conflicts with what Ariane Zappia told me. Zappia stated she broke off contact with Tobiasson on October 23, 2017, the day after Zappia claimed that Tobiasson tried to bribe her, at which time Zappia contacted her attorney. The 8 News Now story Tobiasson is referring to aired in April of 2018. I do not believe that Zappia had any contact with Tobiasson after October of 2017. Now, in talking about the Galassi case, just as Tobiasson did when referring to the Land Kaufman murders and that the police wanted her and her daughter to be killed, Tobiasson now says that she knew but couldn't prove that the police wanted to kill Ariane Zappia. Tobiasson's unsupported claim that evidence may have been destroyed by the police in the Land Kaufman investigation now claims that the Galassi case file was deleted from the district attorney's office computers and that other evidence may have been destroyed. Tobiasson claims that the Galassi case has everything to do with the Land Kaufman murders and that it is important to tie the negotiation of the Galassi case to the, quote, Shane Valentine murders, unquote. So, Tobiasson is linking the murders of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman to the Anthony Galassi case. The families of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman, I'm sure, would like to know what Tobiasson is holding back from them and why. Tobiasson alleges that then Vice Detective Gregory Flores advised Anthony Galassi to Ariane Zappia's location or somebody on Flores's behalf. Tobiasson then wrote in that email that Greg Flores and Homicide Detective Grimmett set up with Galassi to have Zappia go to the Ari Resort where she could be arrested. It all sounds so absurd. However, all a part of what Tobiasson alleges may or may not be true. If any of what Tobiasson claims is even remotely true, and Tobiasson has the evidence to back up what she says, which I don't believe she does, then there should be many at the Las Vegas Metro Police Department and the Clark County District Attorney's Office who should be facing criminal prosecution. The problem I have with Tobiasson is that she is already a documented liar in her written response to the Judicial Commission. In my opinion, Tobiasson's value as a witness, even if she's telling the truth on some things, when juxtaposed with her lack of credibility and integrity, will overshadow anything she has to say. If Melanie Andress-Tobiasson had nothing to do with the Galassi case, either officially or unofficially, as she told the Judicial Commission, then why did she tell Connie Land in an October 1st, 2017 text message, quote, I never forget. Just ask Shane Valentine, Jeff Wagonseller, Damo, Frost, and many others. Only death will free them from my sights. That is an interesting comment coming from a sitting judge who is supposed to be impartial, unbiased, and non-prejudiced. Tobiasson stated to the Judicial Commission that she was checking on the progress of the Galassi case because she was concerned for the safety of her family. I think Melanie Andress-Tobiasson should explain that if she had no involvement officially or unofficially with the Galassi case, as she stated to the Judicial Commission, then why is she afraid for the safety of her family from Galassi? If Tobiasson and her daughter had no personal involvement with Anthony Galassi, why then would Galassi be a threat to her family, as she alleges? Keep in mind that the charges filed against Tobiasson by the Judicial Commission are separate and apart from a criminal investigation that Tobiasson may currently be under. Remember from a previous episode, I reported that according to Nevada Supreme Court records, the Commission was alleging that Tobiasson was involved in criminal activity, including involvement in purported murder plots. Then there is the alleged bribe with Ariane Zappia and allegations of possible witness intimidation. The status of any ongoing criminal investigation into Tobiasson, if there indeed is one, is unknown. On a separate note, Melanie Andress-Tobiasson hired a private investigator to conduct surveillance on her daughter Sarah. From information I obtained, Tobiasson spent quite a large sum of money to have her daughter followed. Interestingly enough, her husband, who is a retired Las Vegas Metro Police Sergeant, is a Nevada licensed private investigator. I was told that Tobiasson did not want him involved. The licensed PI Tobiasson hired is also, by the way, a retired Metro Police officer. I have some confirmation on that from Tobiasson herself, in part. In a May 22, 2018 email to me, Tobiasson wrote, quote, "Was doing some stuff with PI yesterday," unquote. Melanie Andress-Tobiasson has made very serious allegations against members of the Las Vegas Metro Police and the Clark County District Attorney's Office. Nobody more than me would like corrupt officials from being exposed and face criminal prosecution, whether they be cops, assistant district attorneys, or those in leadership. With everything that Tobiasson has alleged, and what I now know about her integrity, character, and ethics, something inside of me is saying, to use Las Vegas vernacular, that Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson could very well be, in my opinion, a few cards short of a full deck. Thanks for listening, folks, and much more to come.